honestly think I'd rather run a marathon tomorrow than do that session again right now. So week 7's in the books, and there's now just 4 weeks until race day. The last week was another steep learning curve for me, and one in which I finally started to feel at home on the track. It was a week that featured my normal strength and conditioning routine, but my running started with a track session on Tuesday, and I'll go into more detail about that shortly. After a rest day on Wednesday, Thursday featured my normal lunchtime easy run, although I wasn't able to rope any colleagues in to join me this week, but it proved to be a welcome break from work and a chance to get out of my own head. Then Friday came round and it was time to tackle the toughest session of the block so far. After a warm-up and some strides on the treadmill, I smashed 4 by 3 kilometres at my target race pace. The original plan was to float the recoveries for 90 seconds at about 20 to 30 seconds per kilometre slower than race pace, but even that proved to be a little bit too ambitious at this stage, and I ended up running the recoveries at around 5 minutes per kilometre. But it felt good to get the session under my belt, and after a rest day on Saturday, Sunday arrived and I took on my longest run of the block so far in terms of distance and time on feet. It was a confidence booster to run close to the distance that I'll be running on race day, albeit at a much slower pace, but my legs were definitely letting me know by the end that I'd just strung together 2 consecutive 50-kilometre weeks for the first time in months. I think the lesson learned here is that for the rest of this block, I need to dial up the intensity or the volume of training in any given week, and not both. So that was week 7 in a nutshell, but let's rewind to the first run of the week, which was that track session I talked about. I'm lucky to have a 400 metre track just a couple of kilometres from my house, so with my newfound love of running round and round in circles, I cycled down to Exeter Arena for some 200 metre repeats. The session I had on my plan was 2 sets of 8 by 200 metres with 45 seconds recovery between each rep and 3 full minutes of rest between the sets. So after my usual activations, warm-up, drills and strides, it was time to rip into the first set of 8. And towards the end of the first set, I felt so good that I started to have delusions of adding a third set of 8 reps at the end of the session.
A few moments later.
But by the second rep of the second set, I realised how wrong I was. The rest periods weren't long enough for me to effectively clear the lactic build-up, and as I started to stack the intervals, that became more and more apparent, until the final few reps felt like I was running through treacle. Although despite me thinking I was slowing down as the reps went on, I looked at the numbers afterwards and was pleased to see that there was only a couple of seconds between my fastest and slowest reps. That might sound really silly, but I've previously found my local running track slightly intimidating in the same way that I find gyms intimidating. And I've worried that I might not be a good enough runner to benefit from track sessions, or to know what I'm doing when I get to the track, or that I might embarrass myself. But after speaking to lots of other runners and getting some tips and encouragement, I've pushed through that and I now really enjoy running in that track environment. And apart from the usual endorphins that you get from a good hard workout, the buzz I get when I'm running off the bend and into the home straight at the end of an interval really makes me feel like an athlete. So apart from feeling like an athlete, 2 of the biggest benefits I'm finding from doing my speed work and intervals at the track are the consistent even surface and the guaranteed interval distances. No need to rely on GPS at the track, because 400 metre lap is a 400 metre lap wherever you are in the world. Another thing I forgot to touch on earlier is that I'd questioned the benefit of track running when you're training for something longer like a half marathon, but actually it's been proven that speed work can benefit running form, aerobic development and the ability to clear or tolerate lactic buildup. But don't take my word for it. The session I've just run you through was actually set by Team GB 1500 metre athlete Callum Elson. He's set up a broadcast channel on Instagram where each week he's sharing a workout for mortals like me to try. And that ties into something I mentioned earlier about the encouragement from other athletes helping me push through that self-imposed mental barrier that I'd put on track running. And it really speaks volumes for the wonders of social media that a bloke like me running around in the rain here in Exeter can connect with a world-class athlete and benefit from their tips and encouragement. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if like me you've shied away from running at your local track, I hope there's something in here that encourages you to give it a go. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and if you have liked what you've seen, please consider subscribing to my channel, hit that like button and share this with your mates, your running friends, your crew, your club, or whatever it may be. Cheers for watching.